Now it is time to write our own first port scanner. Okay, now actually I am assuming that you know how port scanners works, so I will start right away. Okay, now actually I already write the program, as you can see, to avoid wasting your time, to avoid stupid mistakes, taking a lot of time. Actually, this is not good, but don't worry. Okay, actually I will explain that in details, line by line. Okay, so by the way, I already upload this code, so you can download it, you can have a look there, and you can have practice that with me. Okay, so the first thing, which is the import, and we imported the PyFiglet. Now what is this library or module? So actually if you write it on Google, as simple as that, now actually you can see that it is just takes ASCII text and render it in ASCII art font. Okay, so if I return here again, so you can see that I'm using this variable and I'm using the PyFiglet format, and I'm using some text here, which is the port scanner. Okay, so I'm typing the port scanner here and I'm printing the ASCII banner. Okay, so if I open my terminal here and run my code, by the way, I'm putting it here, port scanner.py, and I want to run it. Okay, so like this. For now, ignore this invalid amount of argument. We will talk about it right away. But for now, you can see the port scanner has somehow the vibe of a hacker or something like that. You see, so you can see that it is somehow elegant, and you know, to putting as an ASCII or something. Well, by the way, you can just put port scanner, or we don't need that. So what is matter is the functionality, not the stuff about it or the way it look. So if we return here, you can see that the port scanner has been written as an ASCII text banner. Okay, so if I type test, for example, so, and I return here, actually you can see that now it is test, by the way. All right, so far so good. Okay, so if we return here, let's return this to port scanner, and you can see that we open a variable using this PyFiglet, which is the imported one, .figlet.format. This is a function within the Figlet library, and inside it we can put the text we want, which is port scanner, and then we print the variable we defined, or we stored that inside it, which is the ASCII banner. Okay, now this is for Figlet. Okay, now we can see that we imported the sys library, and this is used, you can see that here, and this is what I talked about, which is the invalid amount of argument. Now here you can see we used sys.argv equal to, so then the target we will take, or will do something. We will talk about this right away, don't worry. Else, which means the argument is not 2, or so it is less than 2 or more than 2, this is not acceptable, so we will print this invalid amount of argument. Okay, now by the way, we already saw that, so let's see again. So you can see that this is the Python 3, and this is port scanner.py. so if I write here, so actually you can see that it is invalid amount of argument. Yeah, by the way, I forget to save here, so let's return, let's clear the screen and run again. Yeah, you can see that invalid amount of argument. Okay, now this is not acceptable, because why is that? Because we bought only port scanner, but we need to provide the IP address actually. By the way, you can see here, you can say here invalid amount of argument, you must put, so you can modify that, you must insert or put or enter the IP, for example. Okay, it doesn't matter actually, no big deal. So let's delete this and run it again. You can see, yeah, invalid amount of argument, you must enter the IP. Anyway, it's no big deal actually. Okay, now here for the sys. All right, so far so good. Now for the socket. Now this is the main library actually that being used in port scanner. Okay, so this is socket to open a socket and connection between the victim machine. So we want to scan their or his ports. Okay, you can see that when we saw it is less than 1, less than 2, or greater than 2, it will print invalid amount of argument. But if we provide the argument we want, so if I return here and put it like this and define something here actually, so you can see that this time it will take, we will go through the if body, and we will define a target variable, and inside it we will use the socket dot get host by name. And actually this is function within the socket library, and here inside it we will use the sys.argv1, argv1. Okay, so by the way, argv1, which means that this one. Okay, so actually it starts from here, so 0 1. Okay, so you know that why it is 2, because this, the port scanner dot by, this considered to be one of the argument, by the way. Okay, so this is the first argument and this is the second argument. Okay, now I know this is not an IP address or not an host, but this is just an arbitrary example, by the way. I will put a real IP address right away. Okay, but for now keep with me. Okay, so this is the first argument, this is the second argument. Okay, so that's why we put if it is only 2, it will be acceptable only if it is 2 arguments, which means the name of the Python program and the IP address that we want to scan the port on. Okay, okay, so what we will get here, so we will get the sys.arg, which is the sys library here, .argv, and the one, which means this one. Okay, so start from here, 0 1. I'm pretty sure you are getting familiar with that, so I will not repeat that again. Okay, so this is 1. Okay, now if it is done, so we will store the get host by name. So the get host by name here, by the way, if you can search about it, so just put it like that and say Python and open the official documentation, and from here you can see that we have it here. So yeah, get host by name. So this, what this do, it translate a host name to IPv4 address format. Okay, so actually it translates to IPv4. Now the IPv4 is returned as a string, such as this one. Now if the host name is an IPv4 itself, is returned unchanged. So either you provide, for example, a host name, for example google.com, and it will translate that to its own IPv4, as you can see, or you can just provide the IP address of this machine and it will scan it immediately, or sorry, it will return it unchanged immediately. Okay, all right, now let's return again. So the IP address that we provide here, so by the way, actually it's not good practice to scan a real machines. Actually it is very dangerous, you will get yourself in jail for that. Well, I know it is not for just scanning the port, but actually it's better to be cautious in these scenarios. So by the way, how to do that? Actually, I have this machine. As you can see, I'm using the Metasploitable machine, and this Metasploitable 2. Actually, you can just download it. No big deal. You can download it and run it on your virtual box, as you can see, as a virtual machine, and then you can just have it here, ifconfig, and I will get my IP address, which is as the following. Okay, so which is this one, which is something within my machine and within my power, so no harm and no damage will be done. Okay, so you will be safe and you will not go to jail. So if I type it here, you can see that the port scan worked. Okay, so and so on. All right, so you can see, but don't worry about these, we will talk about these in details right away. I'm just showing you step by step. Okay, so we got the IP address immediately. Okay, unchanged. All right, now we talked about these. So far so good, if it is the argument, and else if it is invalid argument. All right, now here just some accessories to make the utility we are writing more elegant. So you can see that here, if I return again and run this command, you can see that I'm doing these, some of the text, you can see dashes multiplied by 50, so which means that this will be printed 50 times instead of typing it like these, I mean. Okay, so instead of like that, no, you can just put the number you want, put that string, I mean, you want, and multiply it by how many times you want. Okay, now here scanning the target, and this is the target. As you can see, if I return here, you can see scanning the target, and this is the target, which is the IP address I provide here. And here scanning started at something, and here, okay, this is the second thing, or the other thing we will talk about, which is the date time. So actually I imported from date time, import date time, and here date time dot now. So here it will return actually the time currently. So if I return here, you can see that the time is like this. Okay, so I return what is the time currently, which is like this, as you can see, which hour, which minute, second, millisecond, or part of the seconds, and so on. Okay, all right, again we just print it as is, so you can see the scanning started at something, so to be more elegant, and so on. And we print another dashes, so you can see we have these here. All right, so far so good. Now here is the real deal. Okay, now here is the real board scanner. Now all of that was just for banner, for printing out and to be more elegant and so on. Now this is the functionality. This is the real deal. Okay, now I already told you that we import the socket, and the socket library here is the main thing that we will use for our board scanner. Okay, so I opened a try and accept. So try this, don't worry, I will talk about it right away, and accept something, accept something, accept something. All right. Okay, now for the try these. Okay, let's start with the for loop. Now for port in this range, so by that actually we start scanning the ports from 1 until we reached this number. But by the way, not this number minus 1, which is 99. Okay, by the way, you can put here a variable like this and put x equal input and put inside it, please enter a value. Okay, by the way, you need to convert that to an integer like this. You can see that like this. So here we can prompt ourselves, so where to scan, not as a hard-coded port. No, you can just customize it as you will. Okay, but for now we don't need that. Actually, let's return to the previous, so we don't need that. Well, actually, you may ask me, but this is a symbol. Yeah, I know. And why should I learn or know how to write my own board scanner, where there is a tools like Nmap, for example, and it is very powerful, open source, and it has a huge community. And actually, of course, it is very powerful in comparing with this tiny tool. Actually, yeah, I know. But for you as a hacker, not all the time you need to depend on other people's tools. You need to write your own tools sometimes. Okay, so that's why. Okay, let's continue. So we started with the for loop, and we will start from 1 to 99. Now here we open a variable, and this variable we called it s, and inside it we used the socket library dot the socket function. Now this is function from the socket library, and here we defined that this socket that we want to open, the socket is like a bucket, imagine that, and we defined the criteria, the standard we want our connection to be with the other people or with the other end, and we define that it is to be AFINet and SOCStream. Now what are those? AFINet, which means IPv4, okay, and SOCStream here means that it is for TCP, transmission control protocol. Okay, so which means that we are opening TCP connection on IPv4 with the other end. Okay, and we store the value of that, or the returned value, inside the s variable. So this s will be used later on, as you can see here. Okay, don't worry, we'll talk about it. Now after we open that, now we decide, or we put the socket dot set timeout, or set default timeout. The socket, by the way, this is the library we imported, and the set default timeout to be 1. Now why it is 1? Because we don't need to have the connection up for 30 seconds, for example, because this will take a lot of time. We can put actually another values like 10 seconds or 5 seconds or whatever. Okay, but 1 second for it to be more fast. Okay, so why is that? Because when we connect to a specific port, for example, but don't worry, right now we didn't handle the port functionality. We didn't handle the port functionality yet. Right now we are talking about the connection. So here we will talk about the port, okay? But don't worry, we will talk about it step by step. For now, follow me. Okay, so default timeout. So when we connect with that criteria to that specific port, we will not handle more than 1 second. Okay, so after 1 second, it will be considered timeout, because we assuming that 1 second means that the port is closed. So we don't need to know more about it, or the port is open. We will know within this period. Okay, anyway, all right. Now we will have the result variable, and inside the result variable we will use the S variable that we stored our socket criteria, which is IPv4 and TCP, and we will use, as you can see, S dot connect X. Now connect X, it accepts 2 arguments, but as a tuple, by the way. You can see that it is accepted as a tuple. All right. Now the first thing is the target, which is, if you return here, this is the IP address we entered. Remember when we put the IP address, the second argument, argv1, yeah, and the port number. Okay, so the port number, it will start from the loop, so it will start from 1 until 99. So it will try 1, then 2, then 3, 4, until it will reach 99. Okay, so then the return of these will be stored on the result. By the way, the connect X will return 0 if there are a connection. Other than that, it will be considered closed. So 0, as you can see here, yeah, if the result equal 0, this will be considered port is open. And you can see we used the formatted dot format the port, because I'm using the braces here. Okay. Other than that, it will be considered closed. Now, how did I know that? Actually, it's not from myself. I get it. No, actually, this is how the function works. It returns 0 for connection or for a connected socket, and it will return other than that. So 195, 0, 1, I mean 10, some errors or some values, okay? And these will be considered closed, okay? So no connection at all, okay? So either there is a connection or there is no connection. If the result here, if it is 0, which means that the result of the connect X will be 0, which means the port is open, there is a connection. Other than that will be considered closed. But you can see that I didn't put else here because we just need the opened port. We don't need any port, right? By the way, you can customize that on your own if you want to have some elegancy, like you need to know if there are no ports opened, you need to print those. And actually it's no big deal. You can just put it here. And this is something can be done by defining outside the try here a Boolean variable, and inside it put is no port true, and if there are some port it will be true false. Okay, and here outside the try or outside the for loop you will print no port is open. Yeah, actually it's up to how the logic you will use on that. Okay, no big deal. Okay, now after we checked the result is equal 0 and we print the port is open or there are nothing, then we will close the connection. So as you can see, s.close, yeah, here it is, the s, which is the variable we stored our socket criteria. So s.close, okay. And for these, anything or any exception happened, either if it is keyboard interrupt or socket.gaia_error or socket.error, we will print and we will do the following, which is print exiting program, or print host name couldn't be resolved, or print server not responding. By the way, the Gaia error and error, these are from the socket, by the way, from the socket library. You can read about it. So actually it's better to have look here. So you can see that it is here, yeah, a subclass of OS error. This exception is raised for address related errors, blah blah blah, and so on. You can read more about it if you're interested. But anyway, because sometimes this is these for the host couldn't be resolved. Actually, these are used for the host couldn't be resolved, and the socket.error, these are used for the server not responding. Okay. Now, actually, this port scanner is not 100% accurate, but you can say it is good for a start. Okay. All right. Now it's time to test this out. By the way, I recommend you to install a Metasploitable virtual machine and run it on your system like this, and copy the IP address, and let's try our port. So you can see that here I put from 1 to 100. Okay, so let's check. So you can see that port 21 is open, 22, 23, 25. By the way, this machine actually is compromisable, actually, yeah, because this is the Metasploitable. It has a lot of holes, a lot of vulnerabilities, bugs, a lot of dangerous breaches can be done to it, actually, yeah, but this is intended for that. So that's why I'm using own machines not on a real world or real life machines like google.com or like some servers online. So you may get in jail for that, or get in trouble at least for by using that or by doing that. Okay, now thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this lecture. I will see you in the next lecture. All right, now it's time to write our own first web directory discovery. So again, I already write the code and upload it. So to avoid any stupid mistakes, syntax error, actually to avoid wasting your time. Okay, but don't worry, again, we will go through this line by line and explain everything in details. Okay, all right. Now, actually, I already upload the code, so you can download it and open it so we can test it together. All right. Now, the first thing, we import this library, which is called requests. And actually, this is the main library that used for the web directory discovery tool. Okay, all right. Now here we defined a target URL variable, and we input please enter a target URL, and then we have the file name variable, and inside it please enter the file name of the file containing directories. Okay, by the way, you can put that as a sys.argv 1.argv2 and so on, but it's up to you how to customize your script. But for now, just we will do these things. Okay, now we defined a function, and this function, as you can see, we called it request, and we put a parameter called URL. Okay, now this function we will call it here, actually, by the way, here you can see, but don't worry, we will go to there. So for now, def request URL. Now try this except this, and on this exception pass. Okay, now try this. What is this? So we will return, because this is a function, we will return the requests, which is the name of the library we used here, or module, dot get, and we will use this function, the get function, and this will send a get request. Okay, for what, or to where? To this HTTP / which is a concatenation with the URL, and URL is the variable or the parameter we passed here from here, as you can see. But don't worry, we will go to there and we will handle that and repeat the logic again. But don't worry, let's follow me for now. Now try this. So if there is no error, it's okay. We will return request to the response to somewhere. Okay, but if we have except request dot exception dot connection error, and by the way, the except here, this is something from the library itself, which is the request library. So except this thing, and this thing actually, which is request dot exceptions dot connection error, then do what? Pass. Or you can put this URL is not found or something, but actually it makes sense to only send the what we found, not what is not exist, right? Because it is a directory discovery after all. All right, so far so good. Now this is the function. This will be used to send the request or return the request. Now how this logic actually work, we will talk about this right away, which is file. We define this file variable equal open, and here open is, we already talked about these. So we open the file name, the directory or the file that containing all the directories. So /login, /admin, /something or whatever. Okay, and we will open it as a read. So the file we provided here, we will open it as a readable, and we will go as for loop here, which is for line in file. So we will go through line by line for this specific file that we provided here by typing its name. So this is for the first line, and the first line we defined a variable called directory, and we can see that we used line, which is the first line from this file, dot strip. Now this to strip it from any white spaces. Okay, and after we strip it from any white spaces for this specific line in this file, we store it inside the directory variable. Okay, now we have the full URL, which is the target URL, which is the something, as you can see, that we provide here. Enter the target URL, either IP address or a domain name. It's okay, it will do the job. Then we will add or concatenate the slash here, the forward slash, and then we will concatenate the directory, which is the one we stripped from here, which is line.strip, and we will put it inside the directory and we will use it here. Okay, so the full URL will be the IP address or the domain name, with slash with the directory or the line we have in this specific file, which is the one that we open it from here, as you can see. All right, so far so good. Now we will create a variable called response, as you can see. So we will use the request function, as you can see that we defined here, and we will pass the full URL that we have it here. Okay, so the full URL will be passed to this request function, and then it will try or accept, depends on it. So try, if it is good, nothing error, nothing problem, we will return the value, and the value will be request.get the HTTP with the URL, okay, which is the URL we provided here, okay, where it is, yeah, which is the full URL, okay, including the target URL, this slash, and this directory. Okay, by the way, if we provide the full URL or the target URL, if we provided HTTP, this will be redundant actually, or it will be extra. So HTTP // and another HTTP // okay. Well, actually there are a lot of ways to get rid of that, but anyway, we will not handle it here. It's okay, it's no big deal actually. You can just put a filter, if else, or you can do a lot of things actually. But anyway, we will just assume that the URL is the domain name or the IP address, okay, without using the protocol, which is the HTTP. All right, now after we got the request from here and return everything, so return either this or pass if is request.exception.connection error, which means there is no connection, so we will pass. But if there is a connection, which means the URL is existed or the directory is existed, it will be returned and will be stored inside the response, okay. Now if the response is empty, so it will not, this if statement will not work. But if the response has value or has a returned value, so yes, if response yes, which means yeah, it has value, so which means that we will print this thing, which is discovery or discovery at this path, and we will print the full path that we pass it to the request. All right, okay, so far so good. Now let's have it here. As you can see, I already have the code here, which is directories.py. By the way, I already uploaded it, so you can just download it and let's try it out together, okay. All right, now Python 3 and then directories, okay. By the way, I have this list.txt file actually. If I open it using any text editor, Vim for example, you can see that I have some data inside it, okay. So test login, let's put login here, as you can see, PHP my admin, web login, this is for the WordPress admin, twiki, or actually a lot of things actually, but this is just for testing, for example. And yeah, actually before I run this command or this program, I already have this Metasploitable machine that I already talked about in the previous section. So you can see that I have it here, and this is the IP address for it, so I will use it here actually. And by the way, if I go to its IP address, which is this one, you can see that we have it here, and you can see that we have twiki, readme.txt. Actually, I put some of these actually here, so you can see that PHP my admin. So yeah, let's copy that and paste it there. Well, actually, yeah, let's put it here. Yeah. So actually, this is for testing. So instead of testing on real machines, and actually this is a better way to do that. By the way, if you are using Kali Linux, you already have a long list of words, which is the roq.txt. I think it is very big, and you can just use it there if you are interested to check more, okay. All right, now let's run the command. You can see it will start asking for target URL. Let's put or provide the IP address, which is 11, as you can see, 1110. Yeah. So enter the name of the file, which is what we have on the current directory. But remember, this must be in the current working directory of the program or of the directories.py. So yeah, you can see that. Yeah, discovered directory at this, because I already know there is something called like that, and discovered PHP my admin. All right. So actually, if we have a long list of words and we want to test them out, we can put it and use this long list of words, okay? And it will start looking and searching for directories inside this, okay? All right. And by the way, you can customize it wherever you want. So you can, instead of putting please input or please enter the target or please enter the containing directories, no, actually you can just provide this as a sys.argv, as what we learned in the port scanner section, and use this actually again sys.argv2 or sys.argv3 or whatever. And you can just use this instead of writing it like this. No, you can put the IP address here and provide the name of the directory or the list of the directories that's supposed to be here, okay, or the suggested directories, okay. By the way, you need to provide your Python program here with a very huge list so it can search everything possible for this URL. And again, I'm using Metasploitable. I recommend you to install it, to download it as a virtual machine and run your program on this Metasploitable. Don't use that on real machines or real servers because you will get in trouble. All right, I warn you, actually, you need to be cautious in these situations. All right, thanks for watching. Now it's time to create our login brute force app, okay, for the web application. All right, now actually I already uploaded this file, which is the brute force.py, so you can download it and writing the code step by step or tracing the code step by step. And already I have this file, which is rocku.txt, and actually this is the file. Yeah, as you can see, it is here. So this is the file, the same file as the Kali Linux file, which contains a lot of text files. So if I cat it here, it will take a lot of time. As you can see, it's still bending. As you can see, yeah, let's copy that. So let's, if I get here du-h, this is to see the size of the file. You can see it is 144 megabyte. And by the way, I already uploaded that for you if you want to use it. This is a huge word list. And by the way, if you have Kali, you can find it there. It's okay. But if you don't have it, you can download it and start with me. And by the way, I will use this rocku.txt as a word list so we can check the users or the password, I mean, for this specific user that we provide. Don't worry, we will handle that right away. But follow me for now, okay? Now, but again, please don't use these to attack people, to damage systems and so on, okay? I warned you. I'm not responsible for anything of that, okay? Please use it for you as a white hacker, to have a career, to have a job, to defend people and so on. Okay, now let's start. So this is the first thing, which is the import request. We already talked about this in the previous section. Now here I'm using something new, which is term color, and it is no big deal actually. It is just print a color for a specific text or something, because as you can see from term color we imported colors here. So the colored function, as you can see, this found username or found password will be printed as a green, and you can see that where it is, yeah, you can see that here the trying with the password, it will be printed as red. Don't worry, we will handle that right away step by step. But for now, these are used just for coloring the text, okay, just to give you the vibe of a hacker or something. Anyway, no big deal. All right, so now let's have this is the first thing, URL. This is a variable we input. Please enter a page URL, so you put the full URL here, okay, that you want to try and brute force on it. Okay, now we have the username here. Please enter the username for the account to brute force. So you are using user, root, admin, user1, whatever, okay, so it depends on you. And by the way, we can have a list for this as well, but actually it will be exponential, so it will take forever actually. Anyway, but we are assuming that we know the username, so that's why please enter the username. Okay, now here we have the password file, and here you can see enter the password file to use. So you put the name of the file, but by the way, which is the rocku.txt. This is the text file or the word file that has all the passwords inside it. And you can see that they are in the same level as the brute force.py, which is the program we are writing or we are interpreting. Okay, now finally we have this variable, which is the login failed string. So here you can see that please enter a string that occurs when login fails. So when you type root and with the password tour, for example, which is the inverse of root, it will give you login failed or invalid credential or access denied or something like that. So you need to know the target machine, what will give you when you put a wrong credential. Okay, don't worry, we will handle all of that in this lecture. So just follow me for now and we will reach that level. Okay, now we have this function, which is the diff cracking. But before I go into it, actually, this is the main logic of the brute forcing. Before I go through it, I want to check here, or I want to have a look here, so to understand this more. So you can see here, actually, this will be executed before, or interpreted, let's say, before the diff cracking, because we call the cracking from here. Anyway, follow me for now. So you can see that here, with open, and here you can see that we are using the with and as statement. Okay, so with this function, which is open password file, the file we opened for the password, as you can see, which is this one, and as a read mode. So with that as a password, so which means that everything you opened here as a read, or all the passwords that you have it here, open it as a password here. So store them there, and we will start that right away. Okay, so after that, you can see that we have a colon here with this as this. Inside that, inside the with as statement, we are calling the cracking function. Okay, which is cracking the username that we insert here. We assuming it is user, admin, root, whatever. And with the URL, which is the URL we input here, enter a page URL. Okay, so we are calling the cracking function with these arguments, or these variables that we stored here, and using the with as statement by doing with open this file, which is the password file, as a readable and as a password, make it as a password, okay, variable. Okay, now actually, after we use the with as statement and we call the cracking function, so now it is time to handle the cracking function. So you can see that we define the cracking function. This is the first parameter. By the way, I'm using username here. By the way, this is not the same variables. This is only for the scope of the cracking, not for this one. Don't get confused, please. Okay, and the URL here is not the same for this URL. I mean, as a variable, not as a value. Yeah, by the way, because we are passing this username as, which is this one, as you can see, this variable that we are passing to the cracking function here, but we defined the name here is username. By the way, I can put username too, okay, and user and URL too, and I need to change the necessary here inside this function, okay, because this is username, or this variable is not the same as this variable. They do not point to the same address. Okay, anyway, for now, just follow me. Let's let it as is, which is username and URL. Now here we have the for password in passwords. Okay, now we already talked about the for statement, and by the way, we are using the passwords that we use it with the with open password file read as a passwords. All right, cool. Now we are handling the passwords one by one. So you can see that we open this password file, that the RockView file, and you can see it is very huge file. So if I cat it here, yeah, you can see it's still printing. Yeah, so I interrupt it. All right, so you can see that it will start using this password one by one. So, and all of that will be inside the for loop, which is this one. Okay, so it will start with this one, for example, until it reach or complete or whatever. It will start with this one, this one, this one, until we got what we want. Or anyway, we will handle that right away. So here we have, after the first statement, which is the password now, it will be password.strip. Again, we already saw that in the previous section, as we don't need white spaces or whatever. So we are using this one. Okay, now print. Now, as you can see, now we are using the colored function here that I mentioned, which is using the term color library. So colored, by actually this is a function accept a table, and with the first thing, which is, as you can see, the first thing, and the second thing, which is, as you can see. So the first thing, which is trying with the password, and the other thing, which is the color of this text, which is red. All right, don't worry, we will handle that as a hands-on right away. But currently, let's understand the code first, then we can try it out. All right, so we just trying with the password, which is, we have it here after we strip it. and we have it as a red. So this to tell that we are trying this password currently. So we don't need something or utility to give me a black screen and it is still rendering. We don't know the progress about it. No, we need to know where are we currently, what is the password that we are currently trying on, and so on. So that's why we are printing trying on this password. So now we have data, and this is a variable, and inside it you can see that we have these things, and you can see that the username is username, the password is password as a dictionary if you noticed, and the login as a login, or the login here is as a submit. Okay, because here this is used for the login button when we put the username and when we put the password and so on. And you can see that the username here is the username, we have it here. Actually, we got it from the username, and the password here is the password we got it after we strip it. Okay, all right. Now you may get confused, but follow me. In the next step we will understand, actually in the next line. So here you can see we have a response variable, and we are using the request.post this time. Okay, we don't use the get, and we have the URL, which is the URL we inserted here, which is this URL, by the way. Yeah, and data equal data. So the data here, this is used for the post function, and the data this time will be this data, which is this one that we have, that includes the username, as you can see, which is the username, the password, which is the password after we strip it, and the login, which is submit. Okay, because this is a post request. Now you may get confused or you don't know what we are talking about, but don't worry, when we try this code, you will understand everything. Okay, now if this login failed string in the response.content.decode, and you can see that the response here, which is this one, after we got it from the request.post, so the response.content.decode. So if we find the login failed string that we entered here, that occurs when we login fails, which means that we need to pass, which means that this didn't work. Else, which means that yeah, we found it, we didn't found the login failed string, which means that yeah, we connect successfully, which means this time we need to print with the colored function, yeah, found this username, and we will put the username we found with a green this time, that there is a red, and yeah, print found the password, and again the password we have here after we strip it out, yeah, as a green as well. And let's exit from this function, so as we don't need, as you can see, this is an infinite loop, or maybe actually it's not an infinite, but it is a very huge, it is the same as the number of lines here inside this file, which is the roq. So if I use this command, which is the word count -l, so this is to count the lines inside the roq text, you can see that we have a huge number of lines. Yeah, actually you can see there's a huge number of lines. So we will wait until that. This doesn't make sense. If we find the password and the username, or the password for this username, then we are good to go. We don't need the other things, right? Okay, now imagine, or let's assume that we didn't found anything. We still inside the pass until we reach the last command or the last password in this file, which is this number. Okay, so after we finished the roq.txt file and still we didn't found the password, it will get out from this cracking function and it will print password not in the list. Okay, so that's why we put the exit function here. So this exit function, it will exit from the current brute force.python, which is this one. Okay, so if we find it, it will exit. If we didn't find it, it will still keep pass until we get out from this cracking function, and then we will print this password not in the list. By the way, this is my logic. You can use your own logic. Actually, there are a lot of logics how to do that and how to do such as things. Actually, let's try this out. Actually, it's getting boring here, so let's time to do this. So yeah, Python 3, so brute force.py, and let's press enter. Please enter the page of the URL. By the way, I recommend you to download and install the Metasploitable, which is the Metasploitable machine. And here you can see that we have this thing, which is the DVWA, or the Damn Vulnerable Web Application. And actually this is something very popular to test your web application and so on, to test your skills on hacking the webs. So actually this is very good. So for the username, we have this one, anything, and the password anything. So you can see that we have a login failed. All right, now let's return here. So what is the page for the URL? As you can see, I just copy and paste it like this as is. Press enter. Now what is the username? So actually, by the way, if you can see that the username is maybe root, maybe admin, I don't know. So let's try admin. I think it is admin here, yeah. And for the password, by the way, actually this is something very simple because the username is admin, by the way, and the password is password. So it is something very simple and easy. I don't need programmed actually to find this out, but let's assume that it is something complex. Anyway, now enter password file to use, which is rocku.txt file that we have, and enter the string that occurs when login fails, which is login failed like this. So let's put it like this, and yeah, you can see that trying this until we reach the password. So you can see that trying password, yeah, admin password. So let's try this out. All right, time for testing. Password, yeah, everything working as expected. So you can see that, yeah, actually change your password because it is very simple and very easy. Stupid actually password, not just simple, it's stupid password. Anyway, now you can see that we are able to log in to the page with this username and this password, and with very you can see cool way. As you can see, this will give you the vibe of a hacker. As you can see, this is the color here is red and the color here is green, but you can see that because I'm using already a green color here, so you can see that this is why it is green. But actually the green scale here, or the green color, is not bright like this one. This is just for it to be fun. Okay, and by the way, one last thing I want to mention, please, I warn you to use this on a real target or real machines. Okay, so actually I'm not responsible for any attacks, damages, or anything that happen. I'm teaching you an ethical hacking to use it to good for you and good for your company, your organization, country, institution, whatever. Okay, so don't use it for bad purposes. Thanks for watching.